Alright, so let's begin the class. Uh, Today's class is about Ant and Maven. We are going to integrate this builds tool with Jenkins that we have already seen in previous two classes. And then, if time permits, we'll be looking into what load balancing with HAProxy is. So Ant and Maven, we have seen two options with Jenkins, right? That there is an option for building the code with Ant, building the code with Maven. We can write the build steps in both of them. So what are the differences and how do we achieve that? Okay, so we'll be learning those things. Very first, you need to install Ant and Maven. It's a bulkier tool, so I have already started it. Okay, so it took me a lot of time to download all these packages and install it. A lot of time, as in at least 15 to 20 minutes. So that was in my case. So what I did was I brought up a machine. So let me spin up a machine for you, and I'll show you how to install Ant and Maven. On my client machine, if I want to install Ant and Maven, in that case, Ant comes pre-installed on Ubuntu systems. Okay, don't need to worry about that. But just in case, if you want to install it, so you have to download the binaries directly from um, ant.apache.org. And in case of Maven, it's maven.apache.org. So the websites are these: ant.apache.org. So you're going to download the binary distributions. Jumping to binaries, and these are the binaries. You could be downloading any one according to your requirements. Okay, so gz is the one, or zip. So if you want a gz package, tar package, or a zip package, depends. If you are on Windows machine, you would be downloading a zip package. If you are on a Linux box like me, you would be free to download any package you want. Okay, either tar or zip. So use the one that suits your requirement. So let me. So this is the URL here. It is apache.org/dist /and binaries apache and 1.9.6. Okay, so this is the one that I'm going to download. It comes pre-installed. You could also install it like this. Okay, so that's far more easier than downloading and then unzipping it. If you're on Windows, you'll have to add environment variable to your path. Add another path to the environment variable. Okay, so if you happen to download this from here, you'll have to move it to some location on your Windows drives, and the same location you'll have to add to your environment parameters. Okay, so that makes Ant working. If you want to do it directly, you don't have to worry about, you don't want to be worried about any of these unzipping and adding the stuff to the path. What you could do is you could simply type in apt-get install Ant for installing Ant, and similarly for Maven we could do apt-get install Maven 2. We are using version 2 of Maven. Okay, the latest one is 3, but it is not available with the binaries which are supported by Ubuntu 14. Apt-get install Maven 2 would take a lot of time. Okay, it would be downloading almost 119 MB of archives. So I've already started that on the machine. This. Okay, so that's supposed to be installed. MVN, does it work? Yeah, so yeah, MVN works. If I type in ANT, that works as well. So your Ant and Maven have been installed. Okay, just two single lines: apt-get install Ant, apt-get install Maven. Now, like in a previous class, I've told you that Ant is a descriptive way of specifying the build steps, whereas Maven, in Maven, it chooses convention over configuration. That means it would say that this is the folder structure that I'm going to use. You need to follow the same folder structure. Okay, so for telling what to do, both of these Ant and Maven have got XML being used as the input mechanism. Okay, and the XML files that both of these support are named differently. In case of Ant, the XML file is called build.xml by default. Its name is build.xml. In case of Maven, the file's name is pom.xml, pom.xml. Okay, so we'll not mix up the things. We will first see how build.xml would work. Okay, and then we would be looking at how Maven would work. Okay, so Ant first. Let me bring up a Jenkins machine as well so that I can compare it with Jenkins 2. Why do we use these in the first place? We use this from the era where when Jenkins wasn't there. Okay, so the build steps that we mentioned in Jenkins, we mentioned them at one single external location. But if you want to bundle it up along with the project, because every project has got its own dependencies, every project has got its own build steps. Okay, so the project should be built by firing these commands. And if you want to bundle it up along with your project, what do? Simply drop in a build.xml file in your project and Ant would be able to take care of it. So it would fire all the commands in the sequence, do all the operations that you want to do: packaging, building, creating jar files or war files from your packages. Okay, so everything is done by Ant. So there are multiple tags which are present. It's just like learning a new HTML language where you need to know all the tags. So it is all about looking in the documentation and learning the tags with it. Okay, so the features from basic to advanced level, it would be providing some of these features. So remember the features at least. You don't have to remember any of the advanced level stuff. Of course, we wouldn't be covering that because of time constraints. So the features that and can support is adding properties. We'll be covering properties part, adding different data types, building the projects, building the documentation, creating jar files, creating war files for deployments, packaging your applications, deploying applications, executing the Java code if it's there, or executing any code for that matter. Okay, integration with different IDEs is also available. So it is by default integrating into Eclipse. Okay, JUnit integration is available. Then you can also have your custom ant tags. Okay, that comes in extending the ant. So for now, what we are trying to do is we are going to write our build.xml and see how Jenkins behaves to that. All right, is Jenkins up? Service Jenkins status. Okay, it says it's up. IP address of this machine is 147. So on this Jenkins machine, we already had a job which we finally made sure it works, and I need to log in because we have set up security as well. Jumping to the configuration section. In the configuration, we had an option of adding Ant and Maven build steps as well, right? So if there is a project which already has got build.xml into it, or you don't want to manage the jobs build steps directly with Jenkins, but you want to bundle it up with your project, there might be multiple reasons why you want to do so. The reasons can be that you want to use a single job to execute multiple projects. That can also be done based on parameters. Okay, so passing parameters in Jenkins, you could pass it like this. This build is parameterized. Add a parameter, choose one that you want to choose. Okay, so I'm just passing a text parameter, so I would be using text or a string. I'll give it a name. So let's say I give it a name deploy IP. Okay, and some default value to it. Now this machine here, we are deploying the code to some IP address which is 56.146. So instead of using the IP address directly or hard-coded IP address, what we could do is we could replace it with a variable, right? So I could replace it with the deploy IP, but this time when I use it, I need to place a $sign before it. Okay, so that's one way of providing parameters to this. Another way is to have the parameters posted. You'll be using a REST API and then post the parameters to this job URL. Okay, I was talking of the different projects. If you want to work with different projects, what in that case? We could add another parameter. I could say add another parameter, and this time I would say that it is my repo name. Okay, and the default value is git test dot git. Okay, it's git test dot git. So that's my repository name, and I could change this URL to take care of it. So anything that you fill in the text boxes in Jenkins, you can also place the parameters that you have passed in there. Okay, so the repository URL should be this, and the command should be taking care of the parameter that we are passing. So let's save it and see if it works. Of course, I need to bring up that machine as well because deployment would fail if that is not up. So now what we have done is we have made our jobs more flexible. Okay, so if the repository now is maybe a different repository and both these repositories have got their own build.xml files, then we don't need to worry about the build steps anymore. Okay, we could just add a step that okay, build this code using Ant, and after that deploy the code somewhere wherever you feel free. Okay, so that also depends on a parameter, of course. So let's now the build button changes to build with parameters. Okay, it is asking for the parameters. If these parameters are right, build it. Okay, so it has started the build, finished the build as well, so no problems so far. If the project was different, that means if the repository was different, in that case it would have connected to that repository, downloaded the code and deploy it. What about Ant? For setting up Ant, you'll have to configure it, and in the build steps before deployment we'll have to place some Ant or maybe Ant targets. So we will see how to add Ant target once we know how Ant targets would work. So I am here on my Jenkins slave box, and I would be practicing Ant and Maven. And okay, it works. It says build.xml does not uh, exist here. No problem. Very first, we will be cloning our repository, and then we will be placing build.xml into that. Which build.xml? So I will be creating one build.xml right now. By default, whenever you fire the command ant would be searching for build.xml in the current folder. Otherwise, you can also pass a parameter to ant that please find build.xml at this particular location if you don't want to go with the defaults. Okay, how does it look? It is an XML. So we are not concerned about how to write these files because we are not the ones who are going to write those. Your developers would be having this file all together. You just need to know how to integrate that. Okay, so we are going to play with the demo file here. I'll say that this is my hello world project or git test project, right? So I'll say git test. It's just a description and the default target. Now this is the location where your actual execution would start. Default equals to whatever, and that whatever target we are going to add would be the starting step. How to write it? First, have a target placed. Since this is XML, tags, if you open them, have to be closed, and that's mandatory. You cannot play in like HTML that if you don't close a tag, it would automatically take care of it. But it may be right, may not be right in some cases. Now, like we add build steps in Jenkins, here we are going to add targets. Okay, target name equals to um, I'll say echo, call it print message. You could give it any name. Close the target, and inside the target now you could place any of the stuff that you would like to do. Either you want to maybe execute a command, or you want to echo something out, you want to build the code, you want to generate a war file, you want to package a code, whatever you want to do, you'll be placing inside a target. Okay, so this is the building block. Project has to be the parent block always. Okay, if you want to build the code or work with the code, and inside project you'll be placing multiple targets. Okay, so now these targets can depend on one another. So I could say there is another target whose name is, let's call it dependency. I'm closing it, and here we are going to place a tag which would simply echo out a statement. And is full of a lot of tags. Okay, so we'll not be able to finish with all these tags today. Hello world, we would say welcome to the dependency management. Okay, and close the tag. So that's my dependency. I want to make sure that the dependency executes before the print message. A print message would again be maybe just an echo statement that would be printing some message. I would say hello world. All right. How do I make sure that print message works? Give it a call. So by default, which target should be executed? So I could say print message target should be executed by default. All right. Does dependency work in that case? It would not. You will have to make sure that dependency executes before print message. Let me show it to you how to do it. You type in and it would pick up build.xml from the current folder. Okay, first step it executed was printing the message. The second target did not execute. If you want to make sure the second target also works, in that case you will have to write the target names here separated by comma like this. Okay, let me see. I'm not sure what went wrong here. Maybe it doesn't take two different parameters. Print message and dependency doesn't exist. So start with print message and then I'll show you how to make sure that dependency also works. We start with this. Print message is working, dependency is not working. I need to make sure that dependency works before print message. So there is another tag which we could use, and the tag name is depends. I could say print message depends on dependency. And now dependency works before print message. If I have another target, so targets won't work unless and until you specify which ones to execute. Okay. If we have another target, let's call the target as dependency 2 and close it. Echo dependency 2, close the tag. So if I want to have dependency 1 and dependency 2 executed before this, then in depends tag it should take another option which is dependency 2. Okay, so I guess comma works with depends. Let's see. Yeah, so that works. Dependency is executed first, dependency 2 executed second, and then the print message executed third. So the steps, the build steps that we have actually added three different build steps. Okay, in Jenkins you would be adding it as different execution lines. You would be doing echo hello world, echo dependency 2, echo hello world, welcome to dependency management, and all those kind of stuff. Every build step would be having one single echo line. But here, if you want to place all of them together in a pack, in bundle, you could be using build.xml file. You can also specify specific targets. I could say, and the target would be dependency. See, it is just executing one single target dependency, specifically telling that dependency 2 execute that. It would be executing dependency 2. If I specifically want some another target, like in case of print message, now that's the target. The target automatically depends on dependency 1 and 2, so those dependencies would also be executed in that case. Okay, so build.xml can also be used for project integration. So if one project depends on the another one and you want the other project to be included as well, in that case you would be doing this kind of stuff. Now and comes with property files. So the properties, few of the properties are predefined. Okay, and the property works like this. Show it to you. Build.xml. Properties are just like variables, the way we have used it in Jenkins, the similar way we are going to use it here. We could change it to this dependency 1. Okay, and in dependency 1 I'm going to use the property which is provided by Ant itself. So for using that, dollar braces and the properties which are provided by Ant itself. Okay, so Ant provides a number of properties. Few of the properties are ant.version, ant.file. So it is ant.file is actually full location of the build file wherever the build file is kept. Ant version would be giving you the current version of Ant that you have installed. Then there is Java version, project name, project.default target, invoke targets, and so on. Ant.home would give you the home directory of Ant installation. So let's see. I'm giving you the home directory and the version of Ant and .home. These are inbuilt properties. You can also specify your own properties if you want to. Okay, so if you see dependency and dependency 2 output, dependency 1 output says that it is Apache Ant version 1.9.3, and dependency 2 says that Ant is actually installed in the path /user/share/ant. All right, so these are the inbuilt variables, how to use inbuilt variables or properties, how to assign our own property. So if you want to assign the property here statically, that means you want to hard code it. In that case, you could write something like this. There's a property tag, property, and name of that property could be site name. Okay, and value. It's very similar to writing input tag in HTML. It is property tag here. Property name equals to some something, and value equals to something else. We'll give our value as gettest.com. Okay, and use it. So I would say ant home, and then we need to print something. I call it site. Use the variable that you have just defined, or the property you have just defined. You could use it like this. Site name, $ name, site name. Go save it, execute that. Property must be terminated by closing tag. Yeah, XMLs are actually strict when it comes to tags. Now it works. If you see dependency to output, it gives the output as home and then the site is gettest.com. You could also place all these properties into an external file if you want to, and such files are called property files. You could place it in a file which is external to your own build.xml. In that case, you can only modify the external file, and you don't have to change any of the XML code which is inside build.xml. So what I'll do is I will create a property file. I'll call it build.properties. Okay, not mandatory what extension you give. You could place anything into that. Uh, then site name. We are now going to use our gettest.com value from within a file. You could also place your deployment ID here. Deploy ID equals to some ID. Okay, now we are going to use this inside build.xml. How to use it? Property name, first we have described it here. Now this time we are not going to describe it. We are going to pull it up from the file. So I could write something like this: property tag. It takes file as an attribute as well instead of name and value. So I've written the property file name here, and the properties that you would be using. Okay, let's write the properties down here. Site is site name and deploy ID, right? Deploy is dollar deploy ID, deploy underscore ID. The only difference is that we have simply put all these properties into some different file. So dependency 2 now picks up the values from the file. Site is picked up from the file and deploy is picked up from the file. So if I change build.properties file, site name goes to google.com and deployment ID becomes 5. In that case, it should reflect it. There it goes. So passing the parameters is also easy with Ant. You could either hard code them or pass them externally using some file. How do we integrate that with Jenkins? To integrate this stuff with Jenkins, you would be adding a build step and invoke Ant. I will move this before deployment. So any of the stuff that you want to do, you'd be doing it before deployment. Once your final artifact is ready, you can move it to another server. So here, the targets. The default target that we had was print message. If you don't pass any of the targets, the targets would be picked up automatically. So here in this case, in my build.xml, if no one passes any target, print message target would be picked up by default. That's mentioned on the very first line in the project tag. Okay, so let's see. I'm not passing any of the targets. I'll say apply and save. Execute this with Jenkins and we'll see what happens. It says unable to find build script at blah 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 build.xml. It doesn't work. Okay, can someone tell me what is this error? And it's very simple error, right? And how to fix it? What have we skipped? Anyone? Okay, that's very simple. It says unable to find the build script at that particular location. So if you don't have a build script there, it wouldn't execute. So you'll have to put the build script there. Okay, so how to put that build script in the repository? You'll have to check out the repository and you'll have to add those files in that repository. So let's first check it out. Say git clone from https I guess, and it was github.com slash username slash git test dot git, right? Anyone remembers is if this was the URL? Okay, that's the correct one. So we have the repository created. I'm going to move my files build.xml and build.properties to the new folder. Okay, that went in. Another one was build properties, that went in as well. cd to git test. In the repository we have got now two more files, and now I'm going to add those files. Git status added, git commit them to local repository, adding build steps. It says your identity is not found, so let's add the identity. Git config global user dot email, and git config user dot name. Okay, then do git commit and git push. It would ask me for my credentials. I'll have to provide it. And your code is on the repository. So next time you execute the job on Jenkins, the code would be picked up from the repository. You will automatically have a build.xml and builders properties, so it should not cause any error. Okay, so if you see, dependency was executed first, dependency 2 was executed later on, and print message was executed last. If you want to very specifically tell that I want to execute dependency 2, in that case you'll have to configure the job again and provide some specific targets. So where is the build? Okay, so here you can specify the specific target, which is dependency 2. There are some advanced options as well. You can also specify build.xml file. Currently the file is build.xml, which is default. If you have written your code inside alpha.xml, so you could write alpha.xml here, and it would try to pick up the configuration from alpha.xml instead of build.xml. Properties, you can also specify properties in here. What is the different property files that you want to use? And Java parameters, that means if you want to pass some tags to Java before execution, compile time tags, like the memory limit should be kept this much. You'll have to allow some overflow to be there, or some very specific parameters which are specific to Java. I wouldn't be able to go into that because I'm not a Java person, but you can specify Java options as well. Currently dependency 2, let's check if dependency 2 executes standalone. So this time only dependency 2 is executed. Make sure that Ant and Maven are actually installed on the machine where your job is getting executed. That's the reason why I have kept that, why I have installed Ant and Ant and Maven on Jenkins slave machine, because my jobs are executing there. So what I will do is build, keep it default. Okay, that means all of them. If you see that the configuration now kept on increasing, very first when we have started playing with Jenkins, the job configuration was too little. Okay, now it has grown to a full-fledged nice form, and it can also grow more than that. So the more you want to customize it, the more you will be adding the options to this. Okay, so next tool that we are going to look into is what Maven has to offer. Um, like Ant, Maven is another one. But Maven says that, okay, I wouldn't be finding any of the property files where you have kept. I wouldn't be building the stuff you want me to build. I will not be describing any targets. I just know that if this target is called, you have to do this. So I would be defining some very basic targets, okay, that everyone can use. Now that this is the ideology of Maven. So Maven says I would be providing you with some conventions that you would be following, and I already know what is what. You simply tell me that you need to do this and I will be taking care of it. So for installing Maven, like I said, you would be installing a package called Maven 2 apt-get install Maven 2. Okay, so I've already installed it. Next thing that you need is JDK. Okay, not JRE. Maven would install JRE along with this step. If you type in apt-get install Maven 2, it would install JRE for itself, but we need JDK to be installed. How do we install JDK? The package name for JDK is OpenJDK version 7 or 8, whatever you want to use. Most probably would be using version 7 because that is compatible with Maven 2 and Ant, both of them. And JDK. If you want to install JRE, you would be replacing JDK with JRE. Okay, so this is what I have installed. Two packages, Maven 2 and OpenJDK 7 JDK. How do we use it? Simply type in Maven. It will look for pom.xml in the current folder and it will start building it. Okay, so how do we create pom.xml here? Since Maven is all about convention, we don't have to write pom.xml ourselves. It can fairly become very complex in a short while, depending on what dependencies the developers are choosing to add to it, what are different steps that they want to add to it, and the folder structure is also a bit complex. Here in Ant, we haven't added any folders, any separate folders. The code that we already had, Ant was happy to use the same code and run with it. But your Maven is project specific. It will not allow you to do so. So let's see how Maven would work. So I'm in my git test folder where I already have a few files which are dedicated to Ant. But now I want to have another application created, which is a Maven specific application. So your application directories will also follow the convention which is specified by Maven. Okay. So the standard project structure is also defined by Maven. So in order to get the standard project structure, you'll have to type one command. That command looks like this. It is Maven archetype generate. That means it would be generating the folder structure for us, the project architecture. Then pass the parameters. All the parameters that we are passing to Maven would be starting with D. Okay, very specific compilation parameters would be starting with D. It is D group ID. Okay, where your app is supposed to be kept in Java. uh, this is the way where, in which we actually name all our packages and dependencies. So in my case it is my company dot app. App is my app name. The final deployment ID, the artifact ID that I want to generate is my app. Where the dependencies would be kept for this artifact is archetype artifact ID. We would be using Maven repositories to keep it. And then interactive mode, whether you want to do it in interactive mode, I will turn it to false. So since this is convention based, you'll have to learn all the conventions which are present with Maven. Or even better, don't worry about it. Your developers would be giving you the maven.xml file. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. The project will already be in Maven. Maven or pom.xml file would be passed to you. All you need to do is execute the targets that your developer sees to execute. Build the code and get it deployed. First, we need to be aware that which ones is being going to use. Either it is Maven or Ant. first time while downloading all the repositories, Maven would take time. Okay, it would even take a few more minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so. That is one time task. It would be downloading all the dependencies for that project, even if you don't need it. Okay, but it will not be an overhead on the project. It would be kept in a separate repository of Maven. Maven generates its own repository locally in a hidden folder called m2 .m2. So we'll wait for this to finish. Meanwhile, what I'll do is I will create the machines which I need for load balancers. Let's use Nginx. I would be using Nginx for deployments. If you're working specifically with the Java project, Maven can be very easy to work with. If you follow the conventions that Maven is asking you to follow, packaging, bundling your code together and deploying it onto other application servers like Glassfish or Tomcat or JBoss, it becomes very easy. Okay, everything is handled by Maven itself. So as soon as we download all the dependencies, I will show you that it is very easy. You could simply type in mvn space package and it would generate the war file for you. Okay, and just like that, it would simply export it to some folder and you could deploy that for a jar file or war file, whatever it's created, into some application servers. It's as simple as simply copying a war file and placing it into application directory. So our Maven folder structure is ready. If you see, there is a folder called my app, and let me use another utility. There is a nice utility called tree which gives you an idea of how your folder structure is. So I'm installing that and I'll show you how to use it. Tree, my app. Okay, so this is the folder structure which was created. Okay, in src you'd be placing all your code. In test you'd be placing all your tests. So this is a structure which is generally used in tdd. Okay, a test driven design where all your test cases are also present as along with your code. So this application which is generated currently, it simply gives out a statement called hello world. Okay, how do I run it? Very first you would be doing Maven compile. Now there are different targets which are available with Maven. Maven compile is there, then there is Maven install, then there is Maven package. Since this is a web code which is being generated by default, let me show you. It's my app, cdsrc, then it's main, java, com, my company, app, app.java. So if you're aware of Java code, it simply is going to say hello world. Okay, how do we package it and run it? MVN package. It would be packaging it up along with the dependencies, if there are any. So it says there is a build error, cannot execute modular resources. It requires a project with existing pom.xml, but build.xml is not present. Sorry, the pom.xml is not present. Yeah, because I'm not inside the project. MVN package. Okay, meanwhile, let's do one more thing. We need another machine for load balancing. So I would be starting off with creating one. I'm creating another machine. I will call it as load balancer. So it is compiling, running it, executing the tests as well. Okay, and we haven't told Maven to do that. It is automatically checking all your code. Okay, executing the builds, getting it packaged, and it's saying that build is successful finally. So let's see if it has exported the final jar file. So if you see here on this particular line, building jar, okay, which is almost a few lines from bottom, it says building jar, and there is a path where the jar is exported. It's in the target folder. So let's do ls. Is there a target folder? Yes, there's a new target folder created. What's inside of it? It is containing one jar file which we can execute. It is myapp 1.0 snapshot.jar. Now that's my final artifact, deployable artifact, which I was talking of. How do I execute it? If I drop it in any application server, it would automatically take care of it. But for now, I am manually passing the parameters. Compile the package, which is in target, and the package name is my application 1.0 snapshot.jar, and my class name which I want to compile is this my company dot app, and the class was app. It gives me the answer hello world. Okay, uh, it, it fairly becomes complex, I understand that. Let me show you how pom.xml would look like, and then we would be integrating it with Jenkins. Pom.xml is again an XML file which would be containing multiple attributes. Okay, and this dependency section will grow according to the dependencies that you would be adding. Multiple attributes are also allowed, so the tags, dependencies tags, can be multiple times. Okay, uh, the group ID, artifact ID, packaging, version, name, URL, whatever we have passed earlier, all of these things would be kept in here. Okay, you can also tell Maven to push your artifacts that you have generated to some another location, maybe to Artifactory or to Nexus, whatever you are using. Now, this is very specific terminology. It has nothing to do with DevOps. You just need to understand that these are the tools and they work in different fashions along with the different targets. In Ant, we specify them. In Maven, they are already defined. We simply use them. How do I execute this? Okay, to use this in my project, what I would be doing is I need to make sure that we are going to convert this project as Maven project now. So I'm removing a few files which we don't need. Build.properties we don't need. Build.xml we don't need index.html. I'm removing those and cd to my app. Okay, and I'm committing it. Git add everything. Git status. Okay, git commit. Convert to Maven. Okay, and then git push to origin master. So it has moved up. Let's get the code down on Jenkins and execute it. So on the Jenkins side, we need to change the configurations of the job. Instead of Ant target, now we are going to use Maven target. So in the build step where we were invoking Ant, I'm deleting it and I'm adding another build step called invoke top level Maven targets. Okay, and in here, the goals, the goal that we were using is package it. Your pom.xml file is present inside my underscore app dot pom.xml. Anything else we want to pass? Nothing. For now, apply, save, try to build it. Now it would take another time, another few minutes for finishing it up because we are running it as a different user altogether. It would be following the similar steps and it would be creating its own local repository for the Jenkins user. So we will come back to this. We have successfully executed this job and Maven would be doing all its job for the first time. All right, and following the similar steps that we have done on the CLI. We'll come back to it at the end of this class. The next part that I wanted to cover today is how to work with load balancers. Now this is an important one apart from the build steps because there would be developers to help you out with this. But with load balancing, you'll have to do it all by your own. There is a nice software which is called HAProxy that helps you in load balancing. So let's see. I have three machines that I'm going to use: Nginx, Nginx2, and load balancer. The scenario is I have two machines in my cluster. Clusters would be having identical machines. Okay, so Nginx and Nginx2 are clone of one another. So these two machines are there in my cluster. Clusters would be having hundreds of machines. For now, we are considering just two. Any traffic that comes in, I don't want that traffic to directly hit those machines, but instead I would be routing that traffic through load balancer, and load balancer would be deciding which of these machines to forward the traffic to. Okay, so even if one machine goes down, your traffic will still be up. You still have got 50% capability on your hardware in case of two machines. If there are 100 machines and one or two machines crash or simply go out of the network, you still have got 98% of your infrastructure to serve the traffic. So you would be getting 100% uptime eventually, even if your machine goes down. So here are my three machines: Nginx, Nginx 2, and load balancer. What I need on Nginx and Nginx 2 is that they should be having a package Nginx installed on it, and I will be just setting up a simple home page to identify that the machines are different. Ideally, the home pages are also going to be same, but we will not be able to figure out. Okay, so is the service up? Service Nginx. Okay, that's running. So curl localhost should work. Awesome. I'm going to change it. User local. It's not local. It's in share, I guess. User share Nginx HTML index.html. Now this is the page which is being displayed. We call it hello from Nginx. Okay. Similarly, on Nginx 1 machine. Now that was Nginx 2. Vim user share Nginx HTML index.html. Change it and it should say hello from Nginx. So all your system, all your servers would be homogeneous. Everyone should look exactly alike. Okay. Now these two are my web server tier. I want to pass the traffic via load balancer, so I'll have to install load balancer. Next step, getting the machine ready as a load balancer. So here, for installing the HAProxy, you would be doing apt-get update and install HAProxy by downloading a package called HAProxy. Okay, HAProxy. That's what the name is. High availability proxy. HAProxy configuration has got three different blocks. First block is called global block. Another one is called default block, and the third one is called listen block. Listen block is the important one that we would be targeting more on. Listen block identifies the number of machines that you have in a cluster and how big your cluster is. So we will set up our cluster in the listen block. Default block is the one that would be implementing the characteristics of this particular load balancer, and any of the stuff that you want to specify in the logging zone, which is the core stuff, all the core options would go in the global area. Okay, I'll show you how the configuration file is structured, and we would be writing our own file there. Remember that on load balancer we don't have any web server running. So port number 80 on the load balancer is currently closed. We will have to open it by installing HAProxy and telling HAProxy that we need to serve the traffic on port number 80. So curl localhost here does not work, okay, because there is no load balancer. On the left hand side is the load balancer machine. I'm going to configure it now. First thing that you want to do is to enable this HAProxy. If you type in service HAProxy status, it would not work because the services are not enabled. It would not take in any of the commands. So edit the file, which is at hc default HAProxy, and in that file enabled 0 has to be changed to enabled 1. Okay, now if you type in service HAProxy status, it would give you a status. Currently it is not running. If you happen to start it, it would say that listen block is not found and it would fail. Okay, so now we are going to add a listen block to the configuration file. The configuration file for your clusters would be kept at etc HAProxy HAProxy.cfg. Now this file has got global and defaults already set, but for us we would be writing it again. so that I can tell you what are the different attributes and what is the meaning of that. Okay, so the first block, global. Log everything to the local server, okay, and log everything from the notice level. There are different levels of logging. So you could start with notice, debug, then warning, then error, then critical. Okay, if you write notice here, it would be logging every log from the notice level onwards. If you type error, then the warning logs, notice logs, and debugs log will not be logged, but your but your error and critical logs would be logged. So anything that is on higher priority would be logged. So it is still notice. I'm allowing maximum connections, that means maximum number of users to be connected to this machine to 2000, and execute the processes as user HAProxy and group HAProxy. Now that's by default. You could also make it as www-data if you have that user created on this machine. Defaults. Okay. For logging, use the global one. So I'm using the global settings for logging. I want to serve HTTP traffic through this load balancer. So I would say mode HTTP. Log all the traffic. So HTTP log. And if there are null entries or empty requests, do not log those empty requests. So I say don't log null. Retry for 3 times before declaring the machine as dead. So load balancers are strong enough to figure out whether the machine is dead or not, and it will stop routing the traffic to that particular machine till the time it brings itself back or it is alive again. Okay, so the next option is for sharing the sessions. Redis patch is the one that you would be using for sharing the sessions between the machines in the cluster. Okay, now the timeouts. Timeout on connect, keep it to 5 seconds. So if someone keeps the connection open for 5 seconds, he would be connected out, disconnected. Timeout on the client side. If the client is taking too much time for downloading the data. Timeout on server side means if the server is taking too much time to execute a request. So we are telling that wait for 10 seconds at least for before declaring or giving out on the connection. Now the third block, which is important, the listen block. Okay, so in this listen block we are going to specify our cluster. My cluster name is web servers. You could give any cluster name you want. All the traffic that is coming on port number 80 on any of the interfaces on this particular load balancer machine would be having the following attributes. You can also specify the NIC card, that if I want the NIC card to be a specific one, 192.168, or if I want to serve the connection only on the local hosts, I would be writing 127.0.0.1:80. But now I want all the different NIC cards to serve the traffic. Okay, so what kind of traffic? HTTP traffic. Do I want to balance it? Yes. What is the algorithm for that? I would be using round robin. So machine A and B would be shared traffic equally. Close the connection as soon as it's done. HTTP close. Forward all the traffic to the machine. So the option is forward for. Now forward for would be uh, followed by different server parameters. So the first server that I want to add is in Nginx. Okay, and the IP address of it. So Nginx is having IP address of 56.53. So I would say 192.168.56.53 is the machine running the service on port number 80, and keep a health check. Server Nginx 2. The IP address is 192.168.56.61. So write it 61. Port number 80. Keep a health check. So if the service goes down, it would automatically cut off that machine from the configuration. Okay, it will not modify this. It will simply not forward the traffic to it. Okay, so this is the one. If you want the statistics page, if you want to check the status of load balancer, in that case you would be adding stats. So let's do it. Stats. Enable all the statistics. Statistics should be served on the URI called /HAProxy stats. You can place any URI you want. Then allow the security, because it is public. We don't want anyone else to view the statistics, so I'm adding security here. Strictly private. Now this is strictly private, and I want some users to be assigned. So user 1 is maybe myself, and my password. You would add multiple users as well. So I would say Sam would be having his own password. You can define it like this. So these are the three important blocks that we would be adding. Currently, we don't have any web server running on this, right? Let's see if service HAProxy works. That worked this time. And if it works, if I type in curl localhost, remember that there is no web server on this machine. It still tries to connect to one of these servers in the pool, and we would be getting the answer. Hello from Nginx. How do we guarantee that the traffic is going to two different machines and not one? We'll get to that later on. But for now, if I turn off the service on one of the machines, I say service Nginx stop. Still, I'm getting the answers. That means it is using another machine, right? So what we'll do is we will start this service here on Nginx 2, and I will stop the service on Nginx 1. So I've stopped the service on Nginx 1. I've started the service again on Nginx 2. Let's see if load balancer would take care of it. Still the same answers. That means I'm having 100% uptime even if my services are going down on any single machine. Right? How do I make sure that it is load balancing it? Okay, so let's open up the page. User share Nginx HTML index.html, and we say hello from Nginx 1. Okay, and on another server I'm making it manually. I'm changing it to 2. User share Nginx HTML index.html. We will call it a hello from Nginx 2. Now we specifically know that if the request goes to Nginx 2, it would give us the different output. Let's see. Currently the service is on number 2. It's not on number 1. So it is serving all the traffic from Nginx 2. So let's go back to Nginx 1 and start the service. Service Nginx start. Check the status. So it is running. Next time I get to my load balancer, it is switching the traffics between 2 and 1. See the difference? Now 2 is also in the loop. You can do the same thing from your browser as well. Its IP address is 56.58, so I'm moving to my browser. Say 56.58. Okay, so it is serving the traffic. It says from Nginx 2. Reload it. It would 1 2 1 2 and again. What about the statistics? So the statistics URL that we have provided was /HAProxy ? Stats. It would be asking you for the credentials. Pass the same credentials which are mentioned in that configuration file, and you would be getting a page like this. Not like this. Let me set it up properly. Okay, so you'd be getting statistics on your web servers. So the pool is web servers. Your cluster name is web servers, and in this cluster, you are having Nginx, Nginx 2 as two different machines, which are serving the connections here. Okay, it would give the downtime on these machines as well. So Nginx was down for 1 minute 10 seconds, and Nginx 2 was down for 16 seconds in between. All the traffic which is being served, what are the statuses of this machine, for how much time they have been up in the cluster, all the data is present here. Okay, so that's about Nginx and how it works with the traffic. So your machines, that means your node machines actually, are not available to the public. Public will not be knowing the IP address of these machines. All these machines would be having internal IP addresses, but only the load balancer would be having the public IP address assigned to it. That means people would be connecting to load balancer. They will not be connecting to any of the nodes which are there in your network. All right. All the practical related information is present in the documents that I've shared to you. Okay, so there would be a folder called practicals on the Google Drive that you already have got the link. Uh, and in the practicals, you would be looking at the load balancer setup. Okay, so you'll be getting all the commands from there. So if you have any queries or doubts for today's class, or maybe even the topic which has been covered earlier, you can ask me now. Anyone, any doubts? So what are we going to cover in the next class? Next class is going to be on Monday, same time, okay? And on Monday, we would be looking into Puppet, which is an important topic just like Jenkins. So do not miss it. We are going to talk of Puppet configuration. Okay, so Puppet configuration, writing manifests with Puppet, downloading our own modules, installing it in two different flavors. So Puppet has got two different flavors with it, open source and enterprise. We will install open source and enterprise both. I will show you the differences between the both, but we will be learning some more features which are part of enterprise. All right, so that you get to know more about Puppet. So we'll be spending maybe 2 or 3 classes on Puppet, since that's an important topic, and then we will move to another one, which is Chef. So on Monday we'll be starting with Puppet. Today we have finished 3 modules. So the course curriculum is already shared with you on the drive. So you could go there and figure out what has been done, what has been left. So module 4 would be finished most probably by next week. Okay, not complete next week, but you would be spending at least 3 or 4 classes on it. And then the important part, which covers bash scripting and Python basics. So that's about the coming course curriculum. Please get yourself prepared with the stuff which is coming next, so that you have a lot to ask and more target questions or queries to be answered here. So that's all from my side for today. If you have any queries or doubts, you can still wait, or you can drop off the call. I'm here for 5-10 minutes since Krishna is having some problem with the interfaces. I'll be fixing it for him.